Good evening. Yeah, okay. So let's start with the agenda for the day. So agenda is mostly on what are the audits, what are the different types of audits, audit participants and the major considerations that has to be taken while performing an audit, audit preparations and how to respond to an auditor's question and how to handle a stress of an auditing experience. These are the brief agenda for the day. We'll start with what is an audit. A food safety audit is basically a systematic, independent, and a documented activity in which objective evidence is gathered and assessed to determine if a food safety system is appropriate and effective. So, audit helps determine if hazards are properly identified and controlled or eliminated. So, it's basically a procedure to verify the goal to ensure safe and suitable food for human consumption by collecting verifiable evidences. It is a procedure to verify our goals, also permits the timely correction and taking proper sustainable corrective action of potential problems identified, thereby building a confidence in the system or in the process. Saying like if you are doing an audit of your system, you get a confidence in facing any visitors or a vendors or showing the system to any customers for that matters. So food safety audits focus on the key areas of your operations like your food storage, processing, preparations, your good manufacturing processes, what all are the good practices which you're following, or what all are the systems which you wanted to improve, where are you standing. All of these will be focused during our audit. Now we'll go to the types of audits. There are basically three types of audit: first party audit, second party, and a third party audit. Little bit brief on these different three types of audits. First party audit, you can call it as an internal audit. So basically, as the word says, it's an internal audit to the system. It's an audit by the organization of its own management system and the procedures. You basically do your own systems audit. So the basic objective of your internal audit or your prime first party audit is to check where do you stand in terms of your improvement, how can you improve your system in terms of your standard, or in terms of, say, for example, if you staff implemented a new procedure to improve your system, you can do an internal audit and then see where do you stand. That's a major objective and the scope of an internal audit or a first party audit. Then comes your second party audit. You can call it as a supplier buyer audit, wherein an audit by an organization on its supplier or customers or a subcontractors is being performed. So major objective is basically whether you wanted to go ahead with that supplier, whether you wanted to onboard that supplier, or you get a confidence to get the product from as a customer, getting that product from the supplier. So that will be the major objective. And so its major scope is like you can do an supplier buyer audit or a second party audit in online manner or an offsite manner. It can be based on your contract. It can be based on your processes, a part of your process or a section of your activities which you're doing, or it can cover the entire processes. It can be based on your contract or your agreement with your supplier. It depends on that. Then comes your third party audit, which is your certification body audit or your certification audit, which is an audit carried out by an external independent auditing agency to certify again certain standard or certain requirements. For example, if your organization is going for ISO certification, then the external independent organization who gives you that certification, that audit is your third party audit. So it's completely a new person who is coming in for checking your standards, whether you are meeting that requirement or not. So that is your third party audit. So this is a brief about the types of three different types of audits. Coming to the team who are facing the audit. So basically, the team should be a multidisciplinary, including your people from quality, production, maybe your maintenance staffs, so your housekeeping staffs, or your human resource people who involves the recruitment or your competency to check the competency level and all. So each people should be communicated properly in terms of audit. If you have an audit on so and so date or so and so department, that department has to be communicated properly. Always, it's not just the leader or your food safety team, it's everybody's contribution which gives you that result of an audit. So everybody's contribution is equally important to face a audit. Then comes your audit participants. Now, who all are actually involved in an audit? First will be the auditor, without whom you cannot call it as an auditor. When it comes to an auditor, it can be a single auditor or a whole team wherein you have a lead auditor who leads the audit team. So that can be a different levels of audit. A single auditor coming in doing an audit, or a team of people who comes in for an audit, where in that team you will have one lead auditor who leads that audit. Then comes the auditee. It comprises of the entire organization or the department against which the audit is conducted, or it can be a multiple site or the processes of an audit. For example, if I'm planning to perform an audit of any stores of a manufacturing unit, then the store team is my auditee. All these depends upon my scope, what I define. The number of audit days and audit team depends on the size of the facility, complexity of the operation, number of food handlers involved in your system. This is a brief on the audit participants who all are involved in a particular audit. Then comes your auditor and auditee management. Auditor should always understand the scope, criteria against which they are performing the audit. If the scope is to check the stores of the management unit of a manufacturing unit, and the criteria is against FSSAI Schedule 4, for example, they have to stick to that. Always the auditor who needs to prepare how to do the audit, which all sampling I'll take in for collecting my evidences, maybe by interviewing certain unloading staffs or sorting staffs, or by verifying certain documents or the practices in place, that the auditor has to have a plan. Of course, the auditor needs to perform the audit and collect verifiable evidences, information, and analyze the observations, maybe in terms of a mode of improvement or good practices that is followed, or classify those findings as a major, minor, or a critical NC. The auditor needs to prepare the audit report and take follow-up action on the audit findings from the auditee, and then the auditor will come to a conclusion on the status of the audit findings. These are the major responsibilities of an auditor while performing an audit. On the other hand, the auditee should coordinate with the audit organization if it's a second party or a third party audits, or with the auditor on the audit dates, audit plan which is being shared by the auditor, provide necessary resources to the auditor, auditee to ensure that the audit is completed as per the plan. For example, if the plan says the plan which is being prepared by the auditor says that the auditor needs to check the store around so and so time period, and as per the company's norms, if the store is being closed during that particular time, either before the start of the audit, the auditee should inform the same to the auditor to make some changes in the audit plan, or the auditee to discuss internally with the team and make necessary arrangements so that the auditor can verify the store during the set time. The report that is being shared by the auditor will be sent to the auditee or to the top management. Then the auditee needs to conduct a respective root cause analysis and take corrective actions. and share those outputs to the auditor to get audit findings updated or to get a closure from the auditor. So there, that is where the audit comes to a conclusion. Also, the auditee has to arrange or has to manage to ensure that there is an active participation of top management both in your opening as well as your closing meeting, and establish an agenda for the audit with the in-house team. Ensure that your regulatory and your local regulations are met before the audit execution. Then we'll see the major considerations for food safety audits. Your major considerations are your general good manufacturing practices, your HACCP, your any food safety management systems, your industry specific standards, or any customer specific requirements. These are the general considerations for any food safety audits. Then comes audit preparation. First, you will have to check up on your legal requirements, whether are you meeting your legal standard requirements, your legal metrology, factory rules, or your boiler licenses, FSSAI license, all of those are updated in line in place. Check on your statutory requirements, your pollution control board requirements, or your municipality requirements, all of those are updated. Then checks on your competency level of your team level. Are they competent enough to guide the respective members out there to face the audit? Are they trained enough? Are they multidisciplinary with different functions involved in that team? What are the defined roles and responsibility? Is there a on the day of audit, you cannot say the team member or a team leader is on leave, but respective responsibilities is being assigned to an alternate person. What is it defined? Where is it there? Make sure all your prerequisite programs are in place. You conduct different gap audits or a snag audits. Is that set aligned? What is that results which you get? Proper? Are you maintaining a proper stock rotation? What is the practice which you follow? How are you monitoring all of those in the system? Is it recorded? Do you have a place where you keep your near to expiry items? What is the process which you have? Do you have a quarantine system? What is that which you have? Is it recorded? Is it trained to the people to handle those products? Proper communication is always the key for all the processes. What is, if there is a change in the communication, how do you communicate? Do you have an organization structure? How do you communicate in his or her absence? If my reporting manager is on leave, to whom should I communicate on an emergency? How do you address a customer complaint? What is my redressal mechanism? Do I have a proper mechanism of finding my issues, where it went wrong? Why is it went wrong? What is the root cause? What is the mechanism of having a corrective action? These has to be there. Then comes your traceability. Do you have a process of figuring it out, your products from farm to fork? Is there a recall procedure? You cannot wait for any emergencies which is happening. What is your process? If you have an emergency happening, what is your schedule of training people? How are you going to get feedback from them? How are you evaluating them? Thereby, you create a food safety culture among the facility. What is the mode of response which you can handle if there is an emergency which is happening? How can you handle the safety of the product as well as the safety of the employees out there? What is the mode of verification which you have followed or inbuilt in your system? How are you going to update it? For example, if review of your audits or your documents or your process reviews, if you have a process of doing an audits, what is the checklist? What all points have been defined? On what frequency? Who does it in? Who is your auditee? Who will analyze all of those has to be defined. These are the general audit preparation for any organization. They can go before an audit, or if you wanted to do a daily monitoring or a verification of the process, you can verify the audit activities by following all of these steps. How to respond to an auditor's question. Be honest in answering. Assume that you are the expert in the area. Be confident in the answers. Maintain a good body language, like having an open posture, be relaxed, maintain a good eye contact, smile. These all helps. Key is that you have to be thorough with the aspects, process, requirements against which you are going to audit. If the auditor is audit criteria or audit requirement is in that facility to do an audit against FSSAI Schedule 4 requirement, then the team, the auditee or the team should be aware about what are the criteria or what are the requirements against which the auditor will come and ask. Be a good listener. Sometimes you can get answers from the questions too. Auditor generally verifies the accuracy or correctness of the information provided by the auditee. So always be yourself. Be attentive enough to what questions or query is asked by the auditor. Provide correct information, always answer to the point. Do not deal with situations in an aggressive way or in an argumental or an argumentative manner. Disagreements are not good. Connect your dots. Be quick in noticing things or perceive things. Be observant enough. It is good to maintain evidence to prove compliance. If you don't know that particular answer, don't bluff your way around. Those are the general keys while you handle an auditor, while you face a question from an auditor. Next comes how to handle the stress of an auditing experience. A successful audit depends on a careful preparation of audit team and the auditee. Make a plan. Getting a fresh look on the premises will help know about the missed out or overlooked non-compliances. Communication is, as I said before, it's always the key. Communicating to all your levels of people is very much important. Prioritize things. Conducting a gap audit helps in analyzing the improvement areas. It gives a feel of an audit to the auditees. While performing anything, do it mindfully, which is in turn boost your confidence. If you do a gap audit or if you're doing an internal audit, the auditee gets a feel and they are getting prepared for an external audit or anything which, if a customer comes in, the auditee or the team members are prepared well in advance. If the people are not taking much of a responsibilities, create them accountable for the task. It helps. Speak out. Spread and speak about the difficulties or activities, thereby it helps in improving the system. Always good to revisit the facility before a final external audit or a second party or a third party audit. This helps in giving more confidence and make sure that the checks are done properly, your record verification is done properly, all of those. Audits are not only to find your faults, it is a means to improve your system. So it's a process of learning and then improve from where you are. Relax. Tips for a better audit preparation. Be on the same page or as the auditor. Be thorough with the standard or your audit requirement against which you are getting audited and the requirements. Rehearsals help. Conduct internal audits, frequent verification activities. While conducting any internal audits, be honest and be diligently do the activity. Always a readiness check for any audit helps, even though if readiness checks is not a mandate in India, it helps as it is an independent check of your entire premise or your activity which you're going to perform or which you're going to be audited against in future. Avoid last minute run around. Update records daily or as per your schedule which has been defined. Don't assume that the audit is over when the auditor leaves. Have a post-audit meeting internally to review what went well or what didn't go well or what can be improved, where do we stand. That helps. And then responding back to the auditor with your root cause and your corrective action. Then the auditor responds back, this all findings have been closed, or what is it, then the audit gets closed. Finally, training and improvements. Use this opportunity to conduct additional staff trainings for continual improvement. These all things helps you to have a better audit preparedness for getting you ready for an audit, to face an audit. Yeah, so there comes to the end of the session. Yeah, thank you.